I just wanted to come on and give y'all a quick update on what's happened so far this week in the case of the state of South Carolina versus Alex Murdaugh. And as you know, this is only for the murders of Murdaugh's wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. Now, everything got underway on Monday, and of course, the first order of business was jury selection. Now, somewhere around 900 jury summons were sent out for this trial. So, as you can imagine, it would take some time to get through all of those people to form a jury for the trial. Well, on Tuesday, the fourth pool of prospective jurors was addressed by the Honorable Judge Clifton Newman, and this was one of the larger pools with about 80 people in it. And that number decreased over the course of Judge Newman talking with them, and then he asked if those who had already formed an opinion in the case could set that opinion aside and make a decision based on what is presented at the trial. Well, after that question, about 15 more jurors were dismissed. Now, the remaining jurors from that pool were told to come back at 11 on Wednesday, where all four pools would be combined and the number of jurors would be eliminated to 18, which includes alternates. And also, around 15 jurors were asked to stay behind for a meeting in the judge's chambers with Judge Newman and both the defense and the prosecuting attorneys. I still don't know what that was all about. Now, Tuesday afternoon was also spent working on pretrial motions, and the first motion that was discussed was for the exclusion of testimony from South Carolina's blood splatter experts. But they decided both parties agreed, or both sides agreed, that a decision on that motion won't be made until after the jury's been seated. And also discussed was a motion by the state to submit piles of financial evidence against Murdaugh, but that motion was denied. And that third motion that was talked about was about admitting ballistic evidence, which Judge Newman ruled to allowed. And all that happened on Tuesday. Well, on Wednesday, the jury was finally seated and opening statements were heard. Creighton Waters, he's the prosecutor in the case, he gave a compelling opening statement. And one thing that Waters pointed out was that the jury would hear evidence that linked the firearms and ammunition that was used in the murder of Paul and Maggie to Alex Murdaugh. Key evidence that he talked about was phone records and forensic ballistic evidence. He went on to say that cell phone records would show that Murdaugh was at the hunting lodge where the murders took place at the time of the murders. And according to Waters, there's also a video which was taken only 3 minutes before the murders, and that video shows that Alex Murdaugh was at the scene. Another interesting fact from the prosecution is that Murdaugh took a blue raincoat to the upstairs of his parents' home, which was found later in the investigation, and it tested positive for gunshot residue. And gunshot residue was also found in Murdaugh's car. On the other side of the trial, the defense attorney, Dick Harpootlian, told the jury that it's impossible to believe that Murdaugh could have even, quote, had dinner and spent time with his family only an hour before they were killed. And then he described Murdaugh in the 911 call as a man that was hysterical and in grief. He also made sure that, from the get-go, that the sled expert that had tested Murdaugh's clothing, he also found no blood evidence on the night of the murders. And a gruesome note from the defense, Harpootlian said that when Murdaugh arrived to the hunting lodge, he found his son deceased with his brain laying at his feet. Now, in the past, we've talked about there being a rift in the relationship between Paul and Maggie, or not Paul and Maggie, but Paul and Alex Murdaugh. But Harpootlian told the jury that there wouldn't be a single witness that would testify that their relationship was anything but loving. And he also said that the expert from SLED would testify that the amount of gunshot residue found was consistent with Murdaugh going to the crime scene after the murders and picking up the shotgun that was used to kill Paul. Now, court scheduled to resume today at 9:30 a.m., But another interesting tidbit to note is that yesterday, Murdaugh's son Buster was seen arriving at the courthouse, and then he sat down behind his dad just before the opening statement started. And if you've been keeping up with this case, you know a whole lot hasn't been said about Buster. Well, y'all, that's the gist of what's happened so far in the trial. Stick around, and I'll have more for y'all soon.